We're asking for a reasonable cost for us to recover yung capex dun sa planta at saka dun sa equipment na nagkolekta ng biomass. Pero dapat wag naman natin bigyan naman ng outlook ng what you call ng perception na dahil nagbabayad ka for the feedstock na nagdagdagan yung presyo. Parang iisipin na natin na ang burden yan sa atin, burden yan sa tao. No, actually, we're helping our kababayans get employment, get income, and livelihood. It's really livelihood.
Hello everyone, I'm Ina Guillermo, President of the Biomass Renewable Energy Alliance, and you're tuned into Power Podcast.
Welcome to Power Podcast. This is a channel where you can listen to in-depth discussions of issues relevant to the Philippines energy sector. Power Podcast is a production of Power Philippines, the only online publication in the country dedicated to covering energy development across the archipelago. We cover all news and issues that spark meaningful conversations among members of our growing online community. We share the belief that sustaining the growth of the energy sector is vital to the growth of the country itself.
Today, we're shining a light on one of the most overlooked power sources in the country, biomass. The Philippines is an agricultural nation with massive energy potential sitting right in our farms, forests, and fields. Yet, biomass remains a small slice of our renewable mix. Why? What's stopping us? And what will it take for biomass to finally claim its place in the clean energy transition? To answer that, we're joined by someone who knows the sector inside out. Ina Guillermo, President of the Biomass Renewable Energy Alliance, and one of the strongest voices pushing for smarter policies, fair pricing, and real support for the rural communities that keep this industry alive. If you've ever wondered what biomass really is, why it isn't scaling fast enough, or how it could transform both our power sector and our agricultural economy, this is the episode for you. Let's jump in.
Hello, Miss Ina. Thank you very much for accommodating our request to have you here in the Power Podcast. First, we'd like to get to know you better. So, you've been deeply involved in the energy sector for years. Pero before niyan, bigyan mo naman kami ng background. How did you end up in the energy sector? Kasi, nung nagkakwentuhan tayo before, sinabi mo, hindi ka naman engineer. Tama?
Yeah, that's
so,
right. Yeah.
Kwento mo kami, paano nagsimula yung career mo?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm really honored, and it's really a pleasure to be here. I'm actually a forester. So I'm not an engineer, I'm a forester by training. So I was trained in Los Baños and Matigas Ulo. So I also did my master's in forest resources management. And when I did my thesis back then as a bachelor of science, I was doing carbon sequestration studies for climate change. So it was particularly for tropical forest, secondary tropical forest. And then I was so impressed at how much biomass can be stored and how much carbon dioxide we capture. And that's so much related to our daily lives. Like the air that we breathe in is clean because we have plants and trees that actually absorb that carbon dioxide. So that's how I started. And then the paper actually was related to bioenergy because I do believe that biomass can be sustainably managed, especially forest resources. So from then on, I looked for a private entity. Before that, it was an NGO.
Mm. Yeah. Nabanggit mo medyo big word, carbon sequestration. Explain mo naman, ma'am. Ano yung carbon sequestration?
Okay, so a lot of us did biology or at least, science during elementary and high school. So when our plants or trees breathe in, sort of, like they take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And then together with water and light, they produce oxygen, and then yung tinatawag na basic glucose, yun yung sugar, basic sugar. And those are stored in the form of leaves, stem, and fiber in a plant. So that's where why it's related to climate change, kasi it's like the lungs of the earth.
Now that you're leading Biomass Alliance, what does this role mean to you on a personal level?
Oh wow, it's very challenging, and I think it's an opportunity to reach out to more stakeholders to appreciate what biomass energy is, and also to be able to reach out to more planters, farmers, or even investors to put in their investments in this sector, because there are so many benefits, especially socioeconomic benefits. Not just the electricity that that goes into the grid and then improves our lifestyles, and so those things. So that really motivates me to keep on doing the Biomass Alliance.
So biomass is a tough sector, complex feedstock change, heavy logistics, regulatory layers. What motivates you to champion this space despite these challenges?
Mm-hmm. First of all, I've seen firsthand what bioenergy can do on the supplier side of biomass. It gives a lot of socio-economic benefits, from payment to payment to the farmers for the biomass itself, and also employment. So it's good to see, especially kasi biomass energy, biomass power plants are in the countryside. So once you see them, really taking the benefit and enjoying, like you have jobs year-round, or you have additional income from things that you actually thought that it's just a trash, but actually it brings money also. So yeah, so that really motivates me.
When did you assume as the new president of Biomass Alliance?
It was early this year. Yeah, it was early this year.
Wow. So, new role.
Sorry, not this year. Last year.
Last year.
Oo, last year pala, 2025.
Para kasi nasa 2025 pa
Oo
tayo.
nga, feeling ko talaga.
So, early last year.
Yeah, early last year.
So, what leadership values do you want to bring into Biomass Alliance as the new president?
First of all, siguro vision. I'd like to share that vision. And that's a vision just not for myself and by myself. It's a vision, shared vision with other developers and other stakeholders. And that influence, I think with the network and knowledge that I have gained through my career life, I feel that I have more, what do you call that, capability and resources at hand. And with the biomass members behind me, and they're actually the one who pushed me, you take it on. Kasi yung mga seniors na yung mga founders ng Biomass Alliance.
So, at least you have the confidence of your members.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't do this if not for them.
If people had one misconception about you, professionally or personally, what would you want to correct? Siguro yung engineer ka, no? Isa yun.
Okay lang.
Mas maganda nga yun, napagkakamala kang engineer.
I've been mistaken also for a lawyer, for minsan doktor.
So,
or police.
May humihingi ba ng reseta sa'yo?
Hindi, kasi lang, feeling lang yun. I usually advise.
Ibig sabihin, parang kang jack of all trades. You know everything. You can
a
absorb anything.
A little bit of all. Yeah, sabi nga nila, jack of all trades, master of none. So I'm not sure if it plays well for me.
So personally, anong mga misconceptions about this?
If it's a misconception, kasi I kind of look very young, lalo na babae. So, in the world of energy, alam mo naman, ngayon lang pumasok yung renewable energy. Yeah, male-dominated. So, when I was starting, I think, say, 10 years ago, I really look very young, especially when my hair was still black. So, when it turned gray, started turning gray during pandemic, I let it out na lang. Tapos, yeah, kasi before, they think that, you're so young. Baka kailan darating yung boss mo? Sa meeting ba? Because they think that, she's too young. Yeah. She doesn't know what she's talking about.
So, consciously ba yan ginawa mo? Kaya hindi ka na nagpapakulay?
No, well,
Para you'd look more
intentionally.
mature?
Well, exactly. So, intentionally, sabi nila, you develop that seniority when you're kalbo, when you lose your hair, or when you have gray hair. So, I chose na lang, syempre.
Naisip ko tuloy, magpakalbo din. Ay, hindi pala. Iba pala sa lalaki pala yun.
Yeah.
So, tama. Oo. I'll grow my hair, gray hair. I'll let it grow na lang, no? Tsaka kasi it's wisdom eh. Ibig sabihin,
Yun nga.
you've gained experience already.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure kung ano. I hope na it brings, more advantages rather than
To your point, I don't know why yung mga mas matatanda would always dye their hair to look young. Kung ikaw, it didn't work. Alam mo, kinda didn't work na you looked young sa industry, di ba?
Feeling ko yan, age group. So, maybe when I'm 60 or 70, I would dye it to black. Pero kasi since I'm very confident, wala pa naman akong 50. Ay, shucks, wala pa akong 50. So, okay lang. Yeah.
Excites you most about the future of the biomass industry and your role in shaping it?
Well, it's the exciting times talaga. The biomass energy in the Philippines is getting more popular with the experiences of the existing biomass developers and also worldwide. It's a very lucrative industry to be in. It's not just about power. There's also non-power products. And in fact, like the trading of biomass pellets, whether it's black or white pellets, that's very luxurious.
For the benefit of the listeners, ayan, siguro mag-deep dive tayo kasi you've been mentioning the benefits of biomass, that it's a growing industry. But for the benefit of the listeners who may be new to the topic, what exactly is biomass energy and how does it work?
Okay, thank you for asking. Biomass energy, marami siyang facets. So, automatic siguro, everyone will think when say biomass energy, it's power plant, right? But they're very similar to, they're thermal plants, meaning they produce heat and then you can convert them to energy, just like coal plants. Very similar. The typical biomass plant would use biomass as a fuel, whereas a coal would use coal as the fuel. So in this case, so they feed through the biomass and it's burned in a sort of like a chamber, and that's your furnace. And then there are pipes inside, and there are tubes. The tubes actually, they have water, and then it produces the steam. So, para kang nagluluto nagbuboil ng water, no, sa kettle, tapos may lumalabas na steam, and that steam goes to a turbine generator. So, yun yung nagpo-produce ng electricity.
But what would you consider as biomass? Yung mga feeds?
The feedstock. Okay, so when you say biomass feedstock, usually when you refer to that, well, fact, it is the organic matter.
Okay.
Okay, so meaning nabubulok. Okay, marami tayo niyan. Meron tayong rice straw, rice husk, unahin ko na yung rice. Meron din tayong sa cane, sugar cane, meron tayong bagaso, yung pinagpigaan ng sugar cane, and that's called bagas. And then meron ding sugar cane leaves, na tinatawag naman na sugar cane trash, or sa Ilonggo, they call it kansyaha. And then you have corn cobs. So lahat nung natitira na hindi ginagamit for food production, yun yung typical na ginagamit for biomass.
Pero hindi lahat pwedeng maging biomass feedstock. Kasi you just enumerated rice, corn, ano nga ba isa? Sugar cane.
Sugar cane.
O so, paano yung ibang mga pananim natin? Hindi pwede yun.
Pwede rin yung mga pinagbalatan, for example, in Benguet, in La Trinidad. You know, if you go to the market, they have so much biomass waste there. Yung mga leaves, yung mga balot ng cabbage. Pwede yan. That's also biomass. The challenge there is more than 50% is water. So, kapag tinransport mo siya from the source to your power plant, more than half of that is water. So, parang babayaran mo ba siya ng karamihan tubig? So, you need to dry it. So, I guess that's one of the misconceptions about biomass. Not all biomass is readily for for a fuel. So you need to gather it, you need to shred it, you need to remove that moisture. Di ba pag nagluluto tayo, nagagatong tayo, you want to cook using wood. Pag basa yung kahoy, mausok.
Yeah, oo.
Tapos you'll have to put more kahoy.
Oo.
So, kailangan dry. Tapos madali siyang ipasok. O, kailangan mo siyang paliitin kasi hindi naman pwedeng malalaking logs, diba? So, kailangan the cheap. So, in this case, kailangan mo pa rin siyang i-process. So, may steps.
May steps. And those steps, they require cost.
Of course. For example, rice straw. You wanna pick it up from the fields. Kasi di ba, dami-dami nating rice fields. So, iniiwan nila yun sa ground. If you send an equipment to pick it up, say a small baler, chances are, so syempre pipick upin niya, usually yung mga equipment, meron yung mga parang kamay na tinatawag na tines. So, when they pick it up, kasama lupa. So, pag na-bale siya, kasama yung lupa. So, that means, maraming ash yung biomass na isusuga mo. So, dapat, meron kang pre-treatment like shaker or you wash it. So, to remove yung biomass, yung mga ash and mud. Also, I failed to mention earlier, it's very important to understand. Pag agricultural residues kasi, marami siyang components ng isang biomass na hindi maganda para sa boiler. Okay, yun na yung mataas ang chlorine. So, for the engineers, they don't like that. So, operators, they don't like high in potassium. Kasi sila, pag mainit na mainit yung temperature dun sa loob ng furnace, which you maintain it, at least 500 centigrade, Celsius centigrade. Nagme-melt yung ash nun. Pag nag-melt yung ash nun, magiging siyang parang bubble gum. They stick to the walls of the tubes. Eh, di ba nagpapakulungan ng tubig dun sa loob ng tubes? So, once you cover that, it becomes less efficient. When it's less efficient, then you keep on suga. Lagay ka ng lagay ngayon ng biomass. Just the same kanina when I explained about nagagatong ka with wood. When it's wet, you just keep on adding wood na basa. So, ideally, it's dry. But there are other kinds of technology. Like, for example, biogas. So, biogas naman, ang main requirement niya is animal manure. So, meron tayong tinatawag na carbon and nitrogen ratio. So, the nitrogen, ang source niya, yung animal manure, tapos hahaluan mo siya ng carbon. Ang concept naman yan, yung nitrogen, kailangan mo lagyan ng bacteria. So, siya yung pangpabulok. So, kailangan niya ng food. Ang food niya yung biomass. Kaya may carbon and nitrogen ratio. So, the bacteria will munch through that biomass, yung carbon nun, and then, nagpo-produce siya ng methane.
So, sorry. So, yung animal manure is considered biomass?
Yes.
Biomass feedstock din
Yes.
siya. Okay. So, hindi kailangan laging galing sa plants. Pwedeng galing sa
Correct.
mga animals.
Oo. Pwede. Kasi usually, the livestock, kumakain din siya ng biomass. So, yun yung mga waste niya. So, the energy now is transferred from the plants into the animal. And then the animal waste, meron siyang, the nitrogen that can actually, so it's a process before you can actually get the methane out of it.
What's good about biomass is that it's a renewable energy source. But how is it different to waste to energy or liquid biofuels?
Okay, so biofuels, there are two categories. There's solid and liquid. So for liquid, that's like bioethanol and biodiesel. And those are actually derived from biomass as well.
Yun yung hinahalo mo sa gasoline, di ba?
Right, that's ethanol. And dapat anhydrous. So wala siya dapat, moisture. And then yung sa biodiesel, gumagamit tayo ng used cooking oil, or cocoa methyl ester, yung CME. That's from the coconut, syempre. But to avoid issues with food security, so the government also said dapat yung non-standard coconut, hindi yung ginagamit for food grade. So that's the biofuel. Waste to energy, ang main fuel niya are non-biodegradable materials. Yung municipal waste. Although yung municipal waste kasi natin, halo-halo yan eh. Meron siyang organic, yung mga kitchen waste, Pero pag sa basura natin, di ba? Pag may category na yan pag ina-analyze nila, depende sa city, kung ano ba yung mataas ang consumption ng mga tao. Plastic, bakal. So, hindi ko alam kung makakaderive sila ng energy sa bakal, pero parang wala. Pero sa plastic, meron. But that's non-biodegradable. So, that's the main difference.
So the Philippines is an agricultural country, yet biomass still accounts for a small portion of a renewable mix. Ilan na nga lang yun? Parang wala pang 1%, tama?
Yeah, almost 1%.
Almost
As of
1%. So why is that the case?
Well, first of all, when the renewable energy was enacted, meron na namang mga biomass energy, pero own use, own consumption. So, nire-register pa rin yan sa DOE. Pero
What do you mean, own use or own consumption?
Okay, so for example, the sugar mill. So, sugar mills use
Ayun na.
bagas. So, yung industrial byproduct, ginagamit nila yung fuel.
Oo.
Tapos, when they expanded, so they applied, ang tawag sa process nila is cogeneration. So, they added additional boiler para yung excess bagas gagamitin nila for generation naman ng electricity.
Okay. We have an estimated 4.7 gigawatt of biomass potential nationwide. Why are we only tapping a fraction of it today?
Okay.
Siguro isa-isa natin yung mga wag na problema, opportunities.
Okay. It's true, no? We have biomass from northern Philippines to the southern Philippines. Anywhere you grow crops, meron tayong biomass. In fact, you can also grow them purposely for energy, like a plantation type. Tawag sa kanila energy crops. But agricultural waste is there every year, kahit wala tayong extra effort, but the farmers will continue to produce. And if you want to collect it, you can't naman pick up every single piece of the leaf. So maybe the potential is there 4.7, but to efficiently collect and gather, collect, and compress, to densify, and bring it to the power plant, hindi ganon, hindi aabot ng 4.7. Unless we have developed, new technologies to better compress them and take out all those chemical properties na nakakasira ng boiler. So that's one of the challenges. But yeah, so we have that much. And when the RE law was passed, ang idea was to encourage investors, right? Investments by giving fiscal and non-fiscal incentives. So the first batch, I think there was 250 megawatts. All the rest, solar, wind, they have additional capacities installed. It is only biomass that didn't get additional capacity. And in 2019, there was already like 350 in the pipeline that total capacity that would have gone in. Kaya lang, na-oversubscribe. So, yung mga hindi nakasama dun sa 250, na-stranded sila. And then that sent a very not so good message to the industry and to the investors. And also, when the government promised that they will shift now from feed-in tariff to green energy auction, the prices that were set were really too low. So no one took it. No one. It's not really viable at those prices set.
Yeah, baka gusto nyo baka we can expand on that, yung shift from feed-in tariff to green energy auction. Paano po yung ano yung implication niya? What is feed-in tariff?
Okay.
Tapos versus yung green energy auction program. And ano yung implication niya with sa biomass?
So the feed-in tariff is a 20-year fiscal incentive, and the first, I think kasi nag-digress so the first one was like around 663, and so kung sino man nakapasok nung time na yon, so they get the 663. But then, after 2 years, na-digress yun by 0.5%. So, bumaba siya ng 0.5%. And then, 2019, nag-recalculate si ERC, and then it further went down. And then, nagtayo yung mga companies, but then, I think the the FIT regime ended in 2019. So, yung mga nagtayo ng 2019 na hindi sila makapasok nun kasi oversubscribed na, wala silang guaranteed income, guaranteed sale na that will make them viable. So, the DOE said, okay, since we're into green energy auction na, hindi na tayo pwedeng bumalik sa FIT, sa FIT. Which is, essentially, the green energy auction is also a FIT system. Except that, they set the ceiling price. And then, lahat ng gustong mag-participate, you have to bid low or bid down, no? Kundi para makapasok ka, you get that capacity. The concern was, the rate that was set, the ceiling that was set, was actually very low. In fact, mas mataas pa yung wind. Yung wind, walang feedstock. And I think that's one of the things we need to make sure that ERC understands is we have feedstock and we have variable costs. Unlike the other resources na renewable, it's God-given, day in, day out, that's there. May seasonality sila ng konti, pero ito
Parang
kasi,
yung solar.
oo. Ito, when you wake up, there's solar. And wind, every day merong wind. Yung biomass kasi, even though it's renewable, you need to pick it up. You need to gather it. You need to process it. And wind and solar, wala silang ganun eh. They just convert from DC to AC. Right? So, this one, you have investments. Tapos meron siyang, ang laki kasi ng employment, labor factor. So, you can make it highly automated, but still, you still need people to collect on the fields. And this is where biomass is set apart from the other technologies. It has the greatest socio-economic benefit. Why? You provide employment.
Yeah.
Okay? And those people, they, year-round yan. Kasi kailangan mo ng biomass year-round. So, hindi lang naman basta kolekta, you also need to process it, you need to store it, and then, kailangan mo siyang itanim, di ba? So, yung mga gustong ng sustainable talaga and they really want to make sure and na reliable yung planta, they put up plantations, like either napier, grass or trees that you can harvest every 3 years or 4 years. So, merong sustainability din. But, syempre, dahil may labor component, tumataas yung cost nun. Pabago-bago.
Job every step of the way.
Yes. And also, di naman natin maikaila na meron din siyang diesel component. And diesel is imported. So, kahit naman yung mga farmers natin, if they use their kubota, they use, di ba, fuel. So, ganun din yung sa biomass. So, dependent din siya dun sa variability ng diesel cost. Like, for example, in 2017, 2018, diesel price was like 30 or 28, something like that. Pero pagdating ng 2019, nag-jump. Naging 30, 5 and all. Pagdating ng pandemic, bago mag-pandemic, tumaas. Tapos bumaba kasi syempre walang gumagamit. But then, mag-resume, my goodness, it's like 60 pesos. So, yung mga yun, hindi yun na-factor in during the FIT calculation for biomass.
Question lang ako kasi we were talking about the ripple effect of biomass. So, ibig sabihin din is pagka tumaas yung demand for biomass feedstocks, syempre, yung production din ng bigas, production ng sugarcane, tataas din yan. Tapos, kumbaga, will there be parang more land allocated for that? Tama ba? Tama ba yung intindi ko?
Okay, not really. Kasi, like I said, so we have 4.7 million equivalent na gigawatts, no? The biomass is there. Kailangan lang talaga siyang pick upin. Okay, so...
Okay, so you don't need additional production. Kailangan mo lang i-maximize kung ano yung nandoon.
Oo, pero if you are an investor, you wanna make sure na yung cost mo hindi tataas. So, if you're a good developer, you also think about sustainability. Kasi anything na ngayon walang value, for example, rice straw. Pag naging efficient na yung collection ng mga tao, and then they put money into like collection, equipment, diesel, or going whatever, EV, collectors or something, transport, merong silang dapat ma-recover eh. So, babalikin doon sa cost ng biomass mo. So, kung hindi mo siya i-factor in na meron kang projection how much that would be, suffer ka kasi yung feed-in tariff mo, yung GEA price mo, get mo, yung green energy tariff mo, is there lang. So, there has to be a way to capture yung changes, yung variability nung mga feedstock. So, like coal, coal is naka-index siya sa, for example, coal in Newcastle. So, yung coal plants, ganun sila. So, I think what we're pushing in the Biomass Alliance is a recognition of that variability and may moisture pa, di ba? So, sana ma-recognize the ERC na may mga components like labor. Tumataas din ang labor natin, di ba? So, meron tayong regular labor cost adjustments, yung mga wages. So, dapat naka-factor in din yan dun sa pag-compute ng feedstock cost.
Is one of the conceptions about biomass is yung cost niya, is it expensive? Is it a factor why not so many companies invest in it?
Well, the cost of biomass power plants did not really significantly go down.
Okay.
Kasi, and also did not significantly go up unless yung steel, kasi more on bakal siya. Kung solar, meron silang yung mga poles, tapos EV, yun na meron siyang fluctuation. But here, it's the driver is yung cost of steel. And it's world affected. How do you say that? Not world affected. But yeah, so ang driver niyan is kung ano nangyayari sa buong mundo. Supplier, kung may gera, ganyan.
But in terms of feedstock,
in terms of feedstock, so diesel nga, so yung nag-drive, nagbago-bago, and then competition. So once a biomass becomes a commodity, ibig sabihin lahat na kayo gusto bumili, tinitinda na siya. So dun nagkakaroon ka ng law of supply and demand. So pag marami kayong nag-aagawan, tataas yung presyo. So how to prevent that from happening is part of when you develop it and you present it to investors. You have to be very convincing na you can manage your fuel cost by, I don't know, maybe some companies, they do plantation, which they have full control of delivery, harvesting, and moisture. And like, for example, some are putting up Napier, some are putting up energy crops, the trees that can be harvested every 3 years. So that's where I come from, yun yung forestry side ko, which I believe it can be sustainably managed. Tapos meron pa yung mga carbon stocks sa soil na hindi natin nalalagyan ng value. So it's additional income dun sa investor. Maybe it's not directly for electricity, but there are other benefits kasi na, or you can monetize, or you can give it to your farmers para wag na sila magtaas ng biomass cost. You can set it up like they can claim carbon credits from the soil organic carbon that stays there. Kasi pag sinunog mo yung farms, nasusunog din yung carbon. So you just carbon dioxide, nagiging carbon dioxide siya na released. So dapat nga hindi natin sinusunog eh. So that's I think a way to manage fuel prices.
You've mentioned some misconceptions and things that everyone, including the regulators, should to have a better understanding. Like sinabi mo nga na yung feedstock, they have to be collected, diba? They have to be processed din, yung mga drying. Meron bang was curious kung is there a best practice that we can emulate, or is there a country na who does the best practice that we can copy para the same din yung growth dito sa atin?
Well, first of all, siguro kung meron tayong i-compare in terms of the biomass production, dapat Southeast Asia lang din or tropical countries para yung reference madaling ibaga. Although in Europe, they are growing poplar willows in the same manner. They grow them, tapos these are trees, by the way. They're really big trees. But because they are often cut, so nagsisprout siya. So, meron silang biomass na pwede nilang i-harvest every 2-3 years din. So, in the Philippines, pwede rin yan. I think there are companies now looking into that. They want to, as in like massive plantations of trees, pero they're grown really purposely for energy, for bioenergy. And hindi naman sila magko-compete kasi these are on the marginal lands. O kaya yung sloping lands na hindi na pwede talagang taniman ng agriculture. Wala na mga tao doon na nagtatanim for food. So, yeah, that's a possibility.
Okay. So feedstock logistics remain the heaviest bottleneck. How difficult is it really to secure stable, affordable, and consistent biomass feedstock?
Usually, biomass companies, yung mga power plants that are into, what do you call this, like greenfield standalone, as in like not like sugar mills na may bagas, not like rice mills na may rice husk. So if you really wanna go into that, like your development stage, sometimes you really need to invest on the research. Kasi you develop your biomass plant where your feedstock is. You have to look, ano yung efficient way to collect the resources na nandun. May seasonality pa kasi. So, hire good people, who really understands. And then look at technologies that are efficient. Sometimes you think that's already the best and probably you think it's really the best. But then through time, you learn and you get to optimize and then you bring down your cost.
Sa ba usually ang inefficiencies? Harvesting, collection, aggregation, transport, or pricing?
Nandun sa lahat eh. Oo, nandun sa lahat eh.
Para every step of the way din eh, no?
Oo. Just like farming, sabi nga nila, parang ang biomass plant, if you really wanna have full control on the operations of your plant, you're like a logistics company. Kasi you need to make sure that once it's harvested, it's delivered to you at the right time and the right quality that you need. So, yeah, you have so many equipments. You have farm equipment, you have people going out and verifying. Although meron naman tayong AI, you can send drones and you can just program them, do the mapping, and then you deploy your resources where it's needed. But yeah, so you need people who understands that. And not many biomass plants in the Philippines are organized that way. I know a couple of good companies who does that. But in Europe, it's well established. In Australia, it's well established.
Nabanggit mo kanina yung AI. Paano na ba ginagamit kayo ng AI sa biomass energy? Kasi, hello, di ba? Halos lahat na ang that's the way of the future. Hindi na nga future eh. Yun na ang reality. So how is it being maximized for biomass?
Well, honestly, I'm not sure if companies are already using it at this level. But when you're trying to manage, say, 200,000 hectares, it's very inefficient to send your people to the fields checking on the availability or natanim na ba, nag-harvest na ba. So, there are maps now, like through remote sensing and GIS, Geographic Information System. They can actually make the maps. And then, may database yan nakatapat. So, you know who and when they are harvesting. And if you have all this information already, you can ask AI to program it for you. Or you program the AI to determine sino yung mga pupuntahan and when you deploy your resources. Like, when I say resources, your, for example, equipment na sa farm na mag-gather, tapos yung magbe-bale, yung magta-transport. You can just imagine. So, kung 3 tractor yun, 3 drivers agad yun. Kung magpapadala ka pa ng supervisor para tingnan yung ginagawa nila. So, imagine kung isang area, sabay-sabay ang 200,000 hectares. So, that's where actually I think AI can actually help in,
Making things more efficient.
Efficient and by having the right software to do all that planning for you. Pwede naman, kaya naman din ng individual. It's just that if you really want to reduce your cost and mas accurate, yeah, you can deploy this kind of technologies.
which provinces or LGUs are showing promising models that could be scaled nationwide?
Negros is a good example because they both have cogeneration and standalone greenfields. So they're using sugarcane as a crop that you can get bagas and at the same time cane trash. Next is Isabela or Nueva Ecija. Siguro tayo yung dalawa because of the success of biomass plants in Isabela. We have, I think, at least 2 big power plants there. They're utilizing rice husk, but then now they are also looking into utilization of corn cobs, rice straw, dami ito. So I think these are good models. They have, even though they're like that, like I mentioned, no, the one in Negros, standalone, they have a set of equipment, so vertically integrated yung process ng pagdala ng mga cane trash. So they have huge fleet, though, and you can replicate this. So that model can be replicated in Bukidnon.
Are you in talks with these LGUs para may transfer of knowledge naman to other provinces?
It's not that LGU. So, yung mga millers. So, whether it's sugar millers. So, for
Okay,
Bukidnon, meron siyang
oo.
sugar millers. Meron din siyang rice millers. So, I think in Bukidnon, no, in Jensan area, marami diyang biogas and biomass plants. Pero small lang, internal use lang. But if they want to expand, they can also have cogen or standalone biomass, utilizing agricultural residues that are not being used for anything else.
Okay. You mentioned kanina, picked up yung sinabi mo na may mga millers na meron silang, they use biomass for their own use. Is this something na should be replicated or ano ba siya? Is it something that should be replicated para ma-boost yung biomass industry?
I think most...
Or is it easy to
kasi
set up yung mga ganong
well,
klase?
if you're into like production of for example, sugar, automatic na yun kasi meron kang bagas, gagamitin mo siya. But I think we need to look into, for example, coconut. So if you want to have more coconut for sustainable aviation fuel or just simply for coconut for CME, for biodiesel, or coconut naman for food grade or medical grade, you need to consider the location and then kung meron pa silang power requirements doon. Kasi usually, ito yung mga biomass plants or where the agri sector is, yan yung mga far-flung areas na wala nang pumapasok. So, usually, they're at the end of the line, ng transmission line. So, kailangan nila ng energy. Hindi naman ganun kalaki. Like, you can put solar. Pero solar kasi usually daytime lang, no? But if you put biomass in these areas, makaka-produce ka ng energy requirement to produce your products, your main product, whether it's coconut or sugar or rice, yung pag-mill ng rice. And then you have excess power that you can sell to the grid, to the sub-grid or the DU, distribution utilities. And then usually mga kailangan lang nila 2 megawatts, 3, enough na yun to sustain. So mga island groups actually, like big islands like Mindoro, Marinduque, Masbate. So they have resources, they have biomass resources. So dapat yung investment sana, i-encourage natin sila.
So why is it not happening?
Yung gear price. Yung gear price. I think that would send a very good signal. If you make the right price available, I mean like you say na yan na yung gear price, mag-uunahan yan. In fact, baka damihan pa nila yung biomass. Magtanim sila dun sa mga, my gosh, we have so many uplands that are left open. So if we can grow trees, if we can grow agroforestry, so yan, makakatulong yan. So for climate change, for livelihood in the uplands.
Okay. So you mentioned already yung price. You've long advocated for a pricing framework that reflects both the cost and rural impact of biomass. What would be a fair price look like?
Okay. DOE. We're talking with PERPI. So PERPI is the Philippine Energy Research Policy Institute. PERPI has commissioned a study
Okay.
to look at the socio-economic impact ng biomass energy. Ano ba talaga yan? Kasi yung price na siniset ni ERC does not capture that socio-economic benefit. Right? So, it's just the translation of what you're paying. So, parang nilagyan mo lang siya ng value. But essentially, dapat tingnan din natin na yung price na binabayaran ng consumer for the electricity, about half of that actually goes to your community, to your suppliers, the
Yeah.
Filipino people. Whereas a coal plant, you buy coal and you send your money to buy that coal to Indonesia or to Russia or wherever, right? So here, yung levelized cost of energy mo actually is just the generation, yung power plant lang. Yung feedstock cost, actually it circulates in the economy. So it may appear visually high, but actually half of that goes to your community. So, ano ba yung mga benefits niyan? So, instead of people going, aside from the direct benefit, like payments for the biomass, and payments for the labor, payments for like salary and employment, right? You have avoided forex losses, right? So, hindi ka nabibili ng coal. Ito na yun yung biomass mo. Second, you avoid migration. So, you reduce the lifeline subsidies. So, I think the government should look at the macros. Ano ba talaga yung cost ng biomass energy to the Filipinos? We need to look at the overall impact, not just the peso per kilowatt. But if you really want that, we can also dig. PERPI is doing that study, so they're breaking it up and showing talaga how much is the true cost of energy for the power generation and how much circulates in the economy. Unlike wind and solar, wala naman silang feedstock eh. We're asking for a reasonable cost for us to recover yung capex dun sa planta at saka dun sa equipment na nagkolekta ng biomass. Pero dapat wag naman natin bigyan naman ng outlook, ng what you call ng perception na dahil nagbabayad ka for the feedstock na nagdagdagan yung presyo. Parang iisipin na natin na burden yan sa atin, burden yan sa tao. No, actually, we're helping our kababayans get employment, get income, and livelihood. It's really livelihood. Sorry, medyo passionate talaga ako. We really need champions in this sector. Champions talaga na they would think at heart, ano ba yung benefit nito dun sa grassroots? And hindi lang yung investors, but really you think about the people who produce the goods.
Totoo. Investors often see biomass as riskier than solar or wind. Sabi mo nga, hindi naman need ng feedstock. Are these misconceptions or structural realities?
Well, these are realities, and frankly, no pain, no gain. Diba? If you see that there are risks, you can mitigate them, and there are ways to mitigate them.
What financing models, transport subsidies, and feedstock guarantees, blended finance could unlock small and medium-scale biomass projects?
Okay, financing for the feedstock side, usually kasi the supply of biomass goes through a fuel supply agreement with a group of or an institution. So better yon kung institution, like for example cooperatives, and these cooperatives would need new equipment. So maybe land bank can, actually there's a facility now. Yung linkage lang with land bank and the community, you need to organize that. So
Paano linkage mo?
for example, kasi
Hindi ba sila aware na merong...
Hindi sila organized. And usually if the bank would lend the cooperative, for example, maghahanap yan ng sino off-taker mo. So dapat talaga ayusin yon. So the biomass developer and the cooperative, dapat mag-usap sila. Tapos ano yung terms na workable. Also, the biomass developer usually can give, like for example seedlings, for example tree planting, no, doon sa upland. You can recover that yung seedlings. You don't need to, so of course, the developer will pay in advance for the seedlings. And then they can recover that during harvest na. So after 2 or 3 years, then you do rotational harvesting, every year may harvest ka na. And then every year may bayad na kay land bank. Kung nangutang man yung farmer to buy certain equipment to make it more efficient, for example, harvesters niya ng rice straw, pwede na kasi meron kang back-to-back na yun ng fuel supply agreement.
You mentioned kanina you need champions.
Oo.
But you are also a champion. I mean, Biomass Alliance is a champion for the industry. So, what are you doing? Like, kunyari, sa land bank, sabi mo, hindi naman masyadong organized. But what are you doing to help them? To help the industry players become organized and to tap on mga facilities offered by land bank or even other banks para mag-grow naman siya.
So, we work with NGOs or civil society organizations that, they're doing this not for profit. Marami tayo niyan eh. Actually, mga talagang may puso at mga nasyonalista yung mga yan. So, they are easier to deal with and dahil nga walang profit yung kanilang work, nagiging talagang tama and fair dun sa mga farmers. And these organizations, NGOs, they have like lawyers, meron din silang mga developers, meron silang technical support na nag-a-advise dun sa community. For example, it's a community of farmers cooperatives. So, sila yung, when you borrow money from the bank, ang daming requirements. Kailangan meron kang, I'm not sure if it's being required by land bank per se, but I know for a fact that when you want to develop a public land, like say community-based forest management agreements, they need to have SEC registration. I mean, how can they? They live in the mountains, di ba?
Oo nga.
Mga farmers yan. So, kailangan nila ng lawyer na magtutulong sa kanila mag-form up ng organization. Kailangan nila ng BIR registration. Dapat sila mag-issue ng resibo. Right? So, who's gonna help them? So, this civil society ang tumutulong sa kanila. And of course, there's like fee para lang mag-survive sila. Siyempre, hindi naman gagawin niya ng libre, di ba? I mean, they need to sustain unless they get millions of grants from Europe or elsewhere. But yeah, that's how right now, some of our members are going that path.
Na-mention mo na yan, SEC registration, BIR. Permitting remains slow and complex. Which specific parts of the process create the longest delays?
I think DAR conversion.
Ano
DAR land use conversion.
Oh, okay.
Sa biomass side, siguro hindi ganun ka masyado. Dahil maliit lang naman yung kailangan mo na footprint for the power plant itself. And then the storage, hindi naman kailangan i-convert kasi that's still basically agriculture. Open fields naman yan eh. And you still let things grow. Hindi siya fully built up. The DOE is very impressive, I must say. They have streamlined their process, the EVOS. That's good. And then BOI, lalo na BOI, very efficient BOI. It's the other agencies. I'm not gonna say
needs improvement.
improvement.
Okay.
Yeah. They
I-positivize naman.
Meron
Needs
actually
improvement.
most of them are doing naman. It's just that there are hidden costs, for example, sa DAR, land use conversion. So medyo mahirap.
If you had to rank the top 3 policy gaps stopping biomass from scaling, what would they be and which agencies must step in?
Top 3 Top 3 lang.
Yung sinabi mong hindi mo alam kung pa-pageant answer mo siya o ano.
Honestly, I think the first one should be DOE,
Okay.
Department of Energy. They need to change that mindset that they think the biomass is expensive, that biomass is a burden to the society. No, it's not. So, like I said earlier, yung half of the price actually goes to our community. Ano ba talaga yung cost ng biomass electricity to our nation? So, that needs to be addressed. And DOE is looking at studies like the one being done by PERPI, and hopefully that's going to be out later this month. And they also set the tone, right? If they can do it for coal na may pass-through, why can't you for biomass? I mean, the biomass is here in the Philippines. You pass it through here, pero may nakikinabang din. Nandito din yung nakikinabang. Okay, so that's DOE. Second would be ERC. I'm pretty sure the ERC leadership has fully understand what we mean by socio-economic impact and the benefits and all the things that I've mentioned earlier. So I'm not so worried, but I hope that they would be more transparent when they set the price because of the kasi numbers yan eh. So you want to see where the numbers were drawn from, di ba, yung assumptions. Kasi the alliance is willing to work naman to give the true costs. So that makita lang natin talaga how much is it.
Okay, nananawagan po kami.
Sana po.
So, but is it safe to say that these concerns are not being sufficiently heard in DOE and other agencies?
I think narinig na nila eh. So, we're closely coordinating with DOE. They're very supportive. In fact, they're singing the same tune now. Like, it's so evident for the past 2 JEA, walang nag-participate. I mean, it's telling, di ba? I think they recognize that. So hopefully this study nga would enlighten everyone, not just the biomass. I mean, kung talagang lumabas sa PERPI study na biomass should only be this price, for example, 6 pesos. So be it, 6 pesos. Talagang hindi viable. Let's not do it. Di ba? Pero doon may isipan on the other hat of the government, they should, wait a sec, mababa nga pero ang dami naman yung benefits na binibigay. Mahal nga siya. Number, no, I have to be careful when I say mahal. Medyo mataas siya. Pero ang dami naman yung benefits na binibigay na socio-economic dun sa mga far-flung areas, yung mga countryside. So we should look at it as more of a nation-building approach rather than, penalizing our consumers. But it's not. In fact, in the PERPI study, it would show you, for example, the DOE would set a installation capacity. Let's just say 300 megawatts. What does 300 megawatts for a certain price of energy would cost really the nation? Magkano ba talaga yan? Is it equivalent to or smaller than the socio-economic benefits? So, dapat ma-quantify yung benefits na yon versus the cost. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be more benefits than the cost.
Okay, how important is a successful 2026 auction in achieving the country's 35% renewable energy by 2030 and 50% by 2040 targets? So, parang yung role ng biomass energy that will play in the renewable energy mix targets natin.
Okay. Well, biomass energy, you cannot multiply that like solar, Solar deployment is like in gigawatts. Biomass is not. Maybe the maximum you could extract out of that 4.7, maybe, say, 500 megawatts of biomass. But the beauty with biomass, that's why it's important to deploy the technology. It's because you're small, you're distributed. When you're distributed, yung distributed generations, you are in the end of the nines, nandun sa mga communities that provides you resilience, right? Provides voltage regulation, frequency. So yung mga fluctuations ng mga solar, although they're being addressed by batteries, but this one runs 24 hours. So kung may dumaan na clouds, malaki, magkaroon ng bagyo, it's easy for us to get back the grid if you have smaller biomass plants that would supply yung mga direct communities.
And suitable for far-flung, di ba?
Oo.
Na kung saan.
Island.
I was telling Sir Giles Puno ng first gen na I couldn't believe it. Kasi di ba, I was in the banking sector for 8 years and then I went back to media with Power Philippines. Di ako makapaniwala na when I came back, may mga lugar pa rin sa Pilipinas
Na wala pa
pa rin
kuryente.
kuryente.
Oo.
Hello, 2025 na. 2024 na pa nang bumalik ako. But still, di ba? Parang, Ay, di pala 2025 ako bumalik. 2025?
May mga areas pa.
2026 na. May mga areas pa na walang kuryente.
Oo, nakakaawa. Usually mga islands or yung mga nasa bundok-bundok. Yeah, some of them thinks solar kasi nga madali siyang itayo. You don't really need a lot of permits to do that. You don't need feedstock. Hindi mo kailangan ng equipment. Pero kasi variable sila. Like biomass, you can manage it to be 24/7 available. Tapos, you can create feedstock na to sustain yung operations. Then you support the community around you. Hindi na mention kanina yung socio-economic yung other benefits in the agri-modernization. When you have facilities like this, like biomass energy, with logistics support, you not only increase the technical capability of the people the engineers, the ones in the running the plant, but also the ones in the farm side. Because, as we know, we're running out of labor force. Most of them are working construction, or some of them have gotten their degrees and they do not want to do hard labor, which is fine. And then this is the time na we train people to the farmers and that sector to be more mechanized. Para maging efficient. So, tumataas din yung kalidad ng skills natin na kailangan dun sa agri-side.
Where do Philippine biomass facilities stand compared to global technologies and standards? Are we lagging behind? Are we at par? Hindi pa.
Dati, we were leading. Yeah, the Philippines was the first, I think in Southeast Asia, to have a integrated bioethanol production. That's from sugarcane juice. Nalagpasan tayo ni Thailand. Okay. We have sugar mills. We're actually gearing up. So the sugar millers are installing more efficient boilers. So I think we're at par. But of course, the farming side, kulang pa tayo eh. It goes hand in hand. So if you really want to boost your production, you need to, on the power generation side, you need to also produce more higher productivity and boost your productivity sa farm side. So our pieces of land are actually just narrowing, palitan ng paliit kasi meron tayong housing, of course. Di ba? And then may competition sa solar and the commercial businesses. So dapat talaga i-improve natin yung productivity ng agriculture.
Okay. Some LGUs worry about emissions or feedstock over harvesting. How does Biomass Alliance address sustainability concerns?
It's a very valid concern, but there are technologies anywhere in the Philippines. They install equipment that ensures the SOx, NOx, and particulate matter, even CO, are below the standards ng DNR. In fact, there are investors that are requiring more stringent measures. Sometimes they require you have to follow the World Bank standard. So, kasi syempre foreign money and they want to make sure that they don't have, ESG and sustainability. So, nandun na tayo eh. So, I don't think it's gonna be an issue. There's public consultation, there's ECC process, and that's being reviewed and monitored by EMB naman. So, in terms of emissions, I think we're in place. Yung effluent, biomass plants don't have smell. Wala silang amoy. So, we don't need to be worried about that.
Among all renewable energy technologies, biomass creates some of the deepest rural economic impacts na discuss nga natin kanina. Which models have delivered the strongest community benefits?
Models. The one in Negros and I think Isabela.
So the country targets around 277 megawatts of new biomass by 2030, what must change immediately to hit or exceed that number?
Well, number one, the best signal is really the price, yung gear price. So once you get the price out, it's attractive and that would make the projects viable, a lot will go for it. So that's one. Second is technology. We need to be more exploratory, and government to encourage that. When I say line agencies, actually, the DA, DNR, we need to streamline also the processes in transporting. Our LTO does not allow, of course, tractors to ply the national road, which makes sense. Pero we need to find ways how we can be more efficient in baka kailangan may time lang, you know. So those things need to be considered as well.
What role will biomass play in balancing the grid as more solar and wind enter the system? Hindi ba parang mas napupush kayo aside because of the solar and wind projects that are, sumusulpot?
Oo. Biomass are base load. It has rotating parts and stabilizes the grid. So it's a time talaga to recognize that maybe when you put up a solar plant somewhere, make sure that you also have biomass. I mean, that's the extreme. Actually, that's what we did in the previous company I worked for. Wherever where we would put solar, we have a biomass there. Kasi we already anticipated that variability when a cloud passes, and at that time, hindi pa option yung BESS, because the battery was so expensive. So here, actually, kahit mag-fluctuate yan, mayroong cloud na bumaba yung electricity generation, you still have that rotating part. So yung voltage mo, continuous lang. So, hindi masisira yung mga appliances ng mga customers mo sa bahay. So, I need to in terms of balancing, maybe the DOE should look at even NGCP, or the system operator, where we have that zoning, di ba? Resource zoning. They're doing that already, but maybe put a little bit more teeth in it by making sure that when you have solar plants na variable, you should have biomass there kasi di ba?
Baka yun yung magandang model. Diba?
That's the one in Negros.
If you could deliver one message directly to national policymakers about biomass, what would it be?
Biomass is an abundant resource. It's an indigenous resource that's available year-round in the entire Philippines. We need to reframe our views on biomass being an asset that can be managed sustainably to produce the greatest socio-economic benefit compared to other renewable energy technologies. And we should look at biomass energy being deployed to encourage countryside development and boost the resilience of these areas with climate change and natural calamities.
Next, quick fire. So, one province with the strongest untapped biomass potential.
Bukidnon.
Di ba marami doon? Pinya. Tama?
Actually, I'm gonna do a project there with pineapple and
talaga?
biomass. Pero biogas side.
Okay. One policy reform that would have the fastest impact.
Putting biomass side by side solar. And then putting a viable offtake rate.
Okay. If you weren't in the energy sector, what career would you be in?
Oh my God. Maybe I'm a marine biologist.
Wow! Yun yung gusto ng anak ko, Ano bang movie yun? Basta kita niyo yung mga sharks.
Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Tea, please.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Talaga?
Oo.
Baliktad tayo. Oh my God, di ako early bird. One thing about you that people would be surprised to learn. Except sa hindi ka pala engineer.
sirena ako. I'm a mermaid. I really like the sea. And I really like diving and doing water activities. Yeah.
Kaya pala gusto mo
For fun.
maging marine biologist. Is it too late to change careers?
For me?
Oo. Kunyari, in 5 years' time, if you still decide, pwede pa maging marine biologist.
Hindi, maybe that's one thing I want to, iba kasi
Sabi mo
out of
nga, bata ka pa.
Oh, I know, bata. Hindi yung when it comes to passion, it's good to put it in your career kasi you keep on treading, di ba, kahit ang hirap na. Pero when it's a hobby, I don't wanna turn it into my career.
Okay. Parang mawawala yung fun.
At only that, may pressure na eh. So, hindi na siya masaya. Baka I try to avoid it. Di ba? Kung kailangan ka mag-dive every time na parang hindi ka na nag-enjoy. Parang, nakita lang ako ng bundok. Then I go back to being a forester.
Pwede pa? Pwede pa? Do you see yourself going back to becoming a forester?
Actually, I'm still doing. I'm very much practicing forestry in my work. And I'm very active with the civil society for forest related activities.
What one policy that would change the sector overnight?
Yung appropriate pricing mechanism really for, if it's a fuel pass-through, a lot would really jump at it.
If Biomass Alliance had unlimited funding for one flagship project, what would you build first? Ang hirap mamili pagka
limited. Pag limited,
one funding lang.
Biomass Alliance funding.
Unlimited funding, but for one flagship project.
Okay, I have. Sagot ko. Agroforestry and reforestation of community-based forest managed areas.
Bakit doon?
Kasi we have like more than 1 million hectares farmed out to communities to manage. But it's not really, not saying well managed, but it's not really getting its full potential. So we have that land resource and we can extract a lot of products like from timber, lumber, bioenergy, agriculture, crops, and sustainable biomass. And there's a market for biomass pellets. So if the country can become a net exporter of biomass, that would be great. So it's not just BOI is gonna be happy, but local governments, BIR. So yeah.
Who is the mentor or figure who influenced you the most?
There are two. One, my mentor and my boss, this is Arthur Aguilar, Mr. Aguilar. Yeah, he's very well-grounded and very calm. Hindi lang niya ako na-influence sa pagiging kalma. pero I picked up a lot, you know. I wish I could learn that, yung pagiging kalma. Getting there. The other one is, ano ba? Pwede ba sabihin?
Sino? Go!
My husband.
Ang sweet.
Kasi, he's an engineer.
Okay.
And he finds solutions. And parating balance yung lookout niya sa whether it's an energy or things that you wanna do. May technical, tapos meron ding, it's not just all about, making it efficient. For example, you wanna do something efficient, but you also have to look at the cost. So,
alam mo, dadamayan kita. Yung husband ko rin. He's really one of my inspirations. Kasi,
see?
Yeah, kasi, I'm very blessed to have a very intelligent husband. At saka, mabait siya. Tsaka, kalmado. Yun din ang hindi ko makuha-kuha eh. Parang, pag ako nagpapanik na ako, pero, isip ka. So, yung seeing him, how he practices, alam mo yun, yung nakikita ko yung sa kanya, parang he walks the talk.
Mm.
So, kapag ka ako, I'm put in a situation, I would always think, how would he act? What would he say? Ganyan. Hindi ba pwedeng bara-bara? Kasi ako mainit ang ulo ko
Siguro talaga, kaya partnership, di ba? Kasi you complement each other.
True.
So may nagsasabi sa akin, pagka naman, masyado na mainit ulo. Kalma.
Kalma. What's one personal accomplishment you're most proud of?
Gosh, I'm not really proud of my work.
Why?
Ha? Wala lang. I just don't wanna make it a big deal.
Okay.
You know? Kasi at saka, I always see na it's not just me eh. There's a team that put it together. Even if I led it, I would not have been able to do it without each member of the team. So I don't think it's a personal accomplishment. Maybe siguro yung nagnanay ako.
Of course. Oo.
Ano ba mga personal accomplishment? Wala akong... Siguro yung sa forestry side, we were given a challenge. Nobody has done this. We were able to put up a tree plantation that's intention was to manage it sustainably. For every 3 years, you harvest the same area. So, rotation. Nag-harvest ka every year. Dun sa area na yun. Kasi tumutubo siya ulit. So, we were able to demonstrate yung sustainability nung plantation na yun, energy crops na yun. And we did the plantation in 3 months' time with 24 people. We planted like 300,000 seedlings.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really a lot. It's quite impressive. So, it was systematic, organized, and disciplined work. So, and not only me, of course, I had a team of 9 supervisors. Yun lang, 9, pero 100 hectares.
Siyempre, tsaka 300,000 seeds.
Madami yun. Madami siya.
If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be? Kalma lang.
Enjoy everything that you do. Yeah. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
What song instantly boosts your mood?
Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol.
Hindi ko alam yun.
Ganda
Pakinggan
yan.
ko nga. Chasing Cars.
Love song.
Okay. Sige. What's the best advice you ever received?
Me? Live life to the fullest. Live
YOLO.
each day at a time. Yeah. YOLO.
Yeah. One value you hope to instill in the next generation of energy leaders?
Of course, it's not perfection, but always do your best. And you should be able to write your name in anything that you do and be proud of yourself.
Oo. Parang meron kang iniiwan legacy each
Oh,
time.
yeah, each time.
Diba?
Hindi, tsaka alam mo yun, pag wala kang ganung, once you have that, lahat ng gagawin mo, hindi naman gusto mong perfect, pero magiging proud ka, and you do your best because it's a reflection of you.
True. Totoo.
Diba? Naman, nagawa ko ng sandwich. Tapos, tapos binigay ko. Diba, sino gumawa nito? Hindi mo nakakahiya.
Oo.
So,
Ako live your life purposefully. Kailangan lagi.
may purpose.
Oo, di ba? Hindi pwede yun. Parang may mga times sa ganun lang, bara-bara lang ginagawa mo, walang, yung say-say ba ng ginagawa natin?
Hindi pa nila feel siguro.
If you could take a month-long sabbatical, where would you go?
Gosh.
Malamang sa tubig to.
Oo, ganun na nga. Nandun na nga.
Kaya anong favorite spot in the Philippines na you
Oh my
went
God.
diving?
Oo. Tubataha. The jewel of the country. Yeah. I'm sure there are other places in the Philippines undiscovered. So, yeah.
Is it expensive to go there?
Kinda.
Oo. So parang gift mo sa sarili mo.
Oh, gift, niregaluhan niya ako. Niregaluhan ko din siya.
What's your hidden talent? Do you sing? Do you
I'm not sure.
dance?
Maybe not talents or gifts, right? Na-harness ko din to. So, I do pranic healing.
Oh, okay.
So, it's more of a psychotherapy and kaya din naman ng physical, pero talent.
Napag-usapan na natin yan.
Yung may
diba?
parang Reiki.
Oo, Reiki. So, it's different from Reiki.
Same, pero ito non-touch din siya.
Non-touch.
Oo,
So, you
tapos-
can do it online,
Oo.
ganyan.
Tapos, if you want to enhance para mabilis, merong crystals.
So, what crystals would ikaw dapat na may crystal o yung hinihil mo kailangan?
Ikaw.
Ako, kanya meron akong crystal.
Pampaano lang yung pampa-amplify para mabilis ka makapag-heal.
Anong mga healing crystals? I have actually in the house. May jade ako, may puti. Nakalimutan ko ano yung puting yun.
I think,
Amethyst
yung crystal na walang color,
Okay.
yun yung mas mabilis mag-transfer nung energies. But it's the cleansing that yung dapat kini-cleanse yun kasi maraming dumidikit din pala doon na negative energies.
Talaga?
Even
Ang dami na sigurong negative energy dumikit dun
Hindi
sa
physical it's
Oh.
mental. It's like the psychological.
Talaga?
So if anyone has seen daw pala your crystal, tapos meron silang intention, pwedeng dumikit yun, tapos yun yung ginamit mag-heal, pupunta yun doon sa hinihil mo. So hindi dapat pinapakita yung crystals. Daw.
Yung crystals ko, dapat hindi nakikita ng
Iba.
iba.
Kasi
Parang nasa room ko.
hindi naman siya nakikita ng mga tao. And before
okay.
you use it, you have to pray and that it's pure and no negative. You have to remove all the negative thoughts, thought formation.
Okay.
Ipag-pray mo lang, normal prayer.
Okay. Pero,
Or you command it.
Yun ba yung yung lalagay mo sa arawan? Yung
That's
i-re-energize mo
that's
siya?
one way. Pero even though, meron pa rin mga nakadikit, so pag-pray mo lang. But actually, it's their thought formation. So, you can visualize it, you can think about it, you can put it in the sun. Pero most effective and fastest is really to pray. When I say prayer, it's not just praying to the divine entity, but also, there's divineness. You have good intentions dun sa object.
So, yung healing mo, ano yung healing ng for physical? Or tapos
Physical, mental,
mental
psychological, psychotherapy.
Mag-uusap tayo. Papahealing ako. Healing galing.
Tapos ngayon, may iba-iba, merong iba kasi hardcore na yung merong pang mga entities na hindi natin nakikita that affects us or nagpa-participate sila, minsan hindi lang natin napapansin. And meron din yung feng shui. Meron din yung healing physical ailments. Pero we should not discount yung talagang medical,
yung treatment
etherical
talaga,
treatment.
Totoo.
Pero kasi it's a lot mental.
Yung kasi Reiki healing it continues to play a major part in my healing journey. I'm a cancer survivor, I mentioned, di ba? So every time I go to a scan, nagpapa-pets. Before pet scan ko, nagpapa-Reiki healing ako with my friend. Who's a
nice.
Reiki healer.
nice.
Tapos medyo tinuruan na rin naman niya ako. Tapos during scanning, ganyan, ini-imagine ko na rin, ganyan, light, blah, 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 blah. And I think it works. The power of the mind.
Yes.
Correct. And power of yung positivity.
Yes.
Actually.
Very very conductive ako. That's why I wanna keep myself happy or light or positive. Kaya pag nanenega na ako, na kasi makakahawa ako. Ang bilis ko makahawa. Kaya pag bad mood or better isolate myself siguro.
Madali ka palang nakaka-absorb ka kagad. Sige, wag tayong nega. Kaya kang positive tayo.
Biomass may not be the loudest renewable energy technology, but as Ina reminded us today, it has the power to lift rural economies, stabilize the grid, and turn agricultural waste into real, reliable energy. The challenges are big: logistics, pricing, policy, but so is the opportunity. And if the Philippines is serious about hitting 35% renewable energy by 2030 and 50% by 2040, biomass must move from the sidelines to the center of the conversation. A huge thank you to Ina Guillermo for breaking it all down and for leading the push to unlock the country's 4.7 gigawatt biomass potential. If this conversation inspired you, follow the Power Podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and LinkedIn for more stories that illuminate the people behind the Philippines' energy transformation. Also, don't forget to subscribe, share, and follow Power Philippines on Facebook and LinkedIn for more updates. For your comments and suggestions, shoot us a message on Power Philippines Facebook Messenger account or email us at news.powerph@gmail.com. And of course, stay updated on the country's energy sector by visiting powerphilippines.com and by liking us on Facebook. If you want to view this podcast again, check out our YouTube channel at Power Philippines News. This is Power Podcast. See you in the next episode.